Hey everyone, John here, and welcome back to the Toy Box. How are you guys doing today? I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you're ready to look at some Sitting Cuties Plushes. Today, we have the Hoenn starters Trico, Torchic, and Mudkip. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, we've seen these before. Well, you have, but not like this. We're not just going to look at these Pokemon. We're going to look at all their evolutions as well. That means we're going to be looking at a whopping 9 plushes today. It's so big, we're going to call it the Hoenn Starter Special. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. So, we're going to start things off with our Grass-type starter, Trico. Now, there are two things that I like to do while we're looking at the evolution lines for Sitting Cuties starter plushes. First, I like to see how they grow up with the player, and I like to see what animals they're based on. So, Trico is the base evolution of its line, so it's the baby. And that's not surprising because you, the player, are just starting out. For its animal, the first thing I did was do a search for lizards that looked like plants. And one animal immediately jumped out at me, and that's the leaf-tailed gecko. When I saw this animal, it looked just like Trico. There are a few species found in Madagascar and Australia, and while they all look different, they mostly have these big eyes. Most of them were yellow. I saw a couple that looked kind of red, but I think they were all yellowish. And they all camouflage with their surroundings, so in the forests, they would all be, Trico would be green to match the greenery around him, and their tails looked like some kind of plant. They didn't all look like the same type of plant, but they all looked kind of like leaves. So it's a pretty good camouflage. Now let's take a look at the plush. Now the first thing that I want to bring up is that Trico passes the standing test. That means that it doesn't need help from the wall or any other objects to stand on its own. As far as the colors and the proportions go, I think they look perfect. This is one of my favorite Trico plushes for that. The stuffing is about medium firmness. That is the standard for the Sitting Cuties plushes. And Trico is just about at that average. Now let's take a look at the details. So we'll start off with the head. So here we have Trico's eyes. They're embroidered. You can see the other one. We see Trico's nose sewn in right here. And you can see the line for the mouth. And then the red right here for its belly and chin. Now for the body, Trico has a green body, stuffed medium, and the pellets are really down here toward the lower end. That's why it can balance. Now the arms and legs are all skinny. You can see the fingers sewn in here. Here's the other side. And here are the legs. Here's the other one. I like it that the legs are also kind of flexible. You can make them run like this. Anyway, here's the tail. You can see the other side. The tail is very soft. It's kind of not like the rest of the plush. And here is the tag. Now, of course, since we reviewed Trico once before, I don't have the other tag for it. So here we go. So now that we've seen Trico, let's let it evolve and take a look at its middle evolution, Grovile. There we go. So, by the time you get Grovile, you have some experience as a trainer. You're beginning to grow up, maybe have 1 or 2 badges, and Grovile has also grown up from its Trico stage. And this is where I think it takes kind of a different direction. Now, I said that Trico was based on the leaf-tailed gecko. I don't think that's the entire story for Grovile or the rest of the Trico line after this. Now, Grovile has gone through some changes. So first, it has leaves on its arms. It has a giant leaf on its head. And this reminds me of something. What does this remind you guys of? For me, I'm a huge dinosaur fan. And this reminds me of raptors. Now, ever since paleontologists introduced the idea that many dinosaurs had feathers, there has been a lot of art and toys showing them with feathers. The placement of Grovile's leaves is just like that. So it looks just like a dinosaur that's growing up, but instead of feathers, it has leaves. Especially with the placement in its arms, and then the feathers, not the feathers, the leaves on its legs, and then one giant one on its head. So, I'm still saying that Trico is based on the leaf-tailed gecko because of the strong resemblance. But I'm also saying that it's probably based on a baby raptor that doesn't yet have any feathers on it, it's just fuzz. So, since we don't really have fuzz animated on these characters, and the fuzz eventually grows into feathers on the dinosaurs. So for Trico, it would end up being leaves. So what I'm saying here is that Grovyle is the juvenile. So it looks like we're getting a mix of both the leaf-tailed gecko and the raptor. So let's take a look at the plush. So first, Grovyle passes the standing test. Doesn't need any help from anything to sit on its own. The colors and proportions look great. The stuffing is about medium, just like Trico. Now let's take a look at the details. So first with the head, I want to look at this giant, beautiful leaf. Here it is. There's no stuffing in here, so it's pretty flat, but it's double layered. We have Trico's eyes. They're embroidered. Nose. And then the mouth, just very much the same as Trico. We have a red chin going into the belly. Now, for the body, we have this stripe right here, this green stripe that's embroidered. And I like that it matches right here. There are some plushes that you'll find where there'll be a stripe that goes across a sewing line like this, and they'll be mismatched. No, this one matches perfectly. I love it. Let's see here. We can look at the tail right here. These two feathers. These, just like the feather up here, just like the leaf up here, these are not stuffed. See, I'm thinking about raptors now, and I keep saying feathers instead of leaves. And the pellets are also down here so that the plush can balance, like around where the stripe is. Below the stripe, I mean. For the arms, here's the shape of the arms, right? You can see this right here. They're both skinny. And then we have 3 leaves on each hand. I didn't say feathers this time. There's 3 leaves right here. You can see it from here. And then the legs, they look like this. Here's the other side. And then lastly, we have the tags. So here is the tag for Grovyle. And here's the tail tags right here. All right. So now that we've seen Grovyle, let's take a look at its final evolution, Sceptile. So, here we go. So, now we have Sceptile. Now, by the time you get Sceptile in your game, you're an established trainer, and you're going for the title. So, what does this mean for your Sceptile? Well, Sceptile is now an adult. Now, going off of our dinosaur / leaf-tailed gecko combo, it has a fully developed tail. So just imagine all these leaves as feathers on a raptor that are now fully developed. And more importantly, well, it also has the feathers in its arm. Sorry, leaves. Has leaves in its arms. But more importantly, it has these seeds on its back. And that means that Sceptile is an adult and it's ready to reproduce. So let's take a look at the plush. So first of all, it passes the standing test. The colors and proportions are also perfect on this plush. The whole evolution line is perfect as far as the size, proportions, and the colors. It is stuffed very firm, so it's a lot harder compared to Grovyle and Trico. Let's take a look at the details. So for the head, we have these horns up here. We have the eyes. They are embroidered. You can see a little bit of red on here. We have eyebrows. nose. Then there's a mouth with a red chin. Now for the body, we have this line embroidered across the chest. We have a stripe coming across here that's also embroidered. And again, I love it that it matches up. We can turn it around. You see these seeds. These seeds are stuffed very hard, so they're a lot firmer than the rest of the plush. We have this ridge coming down Sceptile's back. Now for the arms are pretty skinny. You can see the fingers right here. And then we have the leaves right here. You can see it's a dual layer of material right there. Here's the other one. And the legs, you can see 3 claws at the end of the feet. Here's the other one. And then the tail, this is where most of the detail is in. So the tail is actually stuffed pretty soft compared to the rest of the plush. And it has all these leaves sticking out of it, so we can take a closer look. These are kind of like the leaves on its arms. They are dual layered, and they look like they're glued with that material. So this is how they look. And of course you get that all around. You get 4 sets. So there we go. And lastly, we have the tags. So we have, this is the Sceptile tag. And then we have these tags right here. Alright, so anyway, that is our full Trico line. So let's go ahead and bring everybody back together real quick. And take one last look before we move on to our Fire-type starter, Torchic. So, Torchic is the 3rd generation Fire starter Pokemon. The first thing I think of when I see Torchic is a fire-breathing chicken. And I was not really expecting to go online and search for a fire-breathing chicken and see the famous fire-breathing chicken of Australia, but I did actually find something. The Japanese Bason is a mythical chicken that breathes fire. It is said to live in the mountains of the Ehime prefecture in Japan. And as is the case with many of these creatures, if you see one or are close to seeing one, it'll disappear. Shocking. Torchic, being the first Pokemon of its line, is the baby, a fire-breathing chick. And it's very cute, just look at it. Let's take a look at the plush. So first, Torchic passes the standing test. The colors and the proportions are done very well. It has a medium firmness, so just like Trico. Let's take a look at the details. So first of all, for the head, we have these eyes. They're embroidered. We have a beak right here. You can see a line here showing the separation of the mouth. You have these nice feathers up here. These are stuffed. They're pretty soft. And we have this painted on right here. You can see that for the other side. Now for the body, this is where the pellets are. So pretty much the whole body here is pellets. That way it can balance and sit down. We have the wings that extend all the way from here to the back and back around. Now, you do have a little bit of coloring right here. You don't have it on the other side, but you can see it here on this side. Now, the feet, I love the feet. This plush has some of the most detailed feet, so I like it a lot. You can see it from this side. Here's the other one. And of course, we have the tag. Now this one's missing the tag because I have reviewed it before. So I'm going to go and put it right here. So, now that we've looked at Torchic, let's let Torchic evolve and take a look at its middle evolution, Combusken. So now we have Combusken, the middle evolution of the Torchic line. Now, by the time you get one, you, the player, have begun to grow. You might have 1 or 2 badges, well on your way. Now, here's the dilemma that I have about Combusken and Blaziken. Now, Combusken can either be the juvenile stage of the Torchic line or the adult. To me, it can be either one because Combusken is fully developed and it's able to defend itself, find food, and has all its feathers. But the more I think about it, I think that Combusken here might actually be the adult form of the Torchic line. But we'll talk about it a little bit more when we start looking at Blaziken, because we'll need to see Blaziken in order to explore this idea further. So let's take a look at the plush. So first, Combusken passes the standing test. It has medium firmness, just like Trico, Grovile, and Torchic. And the colors are great. The proportions are also good. Now let's take a look at the details. So for the head, we have these orange eyes here. They're embroidered. We have the beak. Then we have the feathers on the head. Now these are different from Torchic's. The other detail here is not painted on. It's embroidered on. So that's a little different. Here's the other side. Now the body, we have these feathers coming all the way down here. These are separate pieces, so they're all sewn onto the body. You can see they extend all the way back here. And then the pellets are over here near the legs and the tail. So we can see the legs bulk up around right here. This shows that these are, it's more like they're feathers. Muscle and feathers. We have the tail right here. There's lines right here to show the feathers. You can see it from the back right here. Now, the wings, they're very long. So, and they have a lot of detail in them. So here, these details are in the hands. You have the feather coverings right here. And you have long claws, these talons. Look at this. Now these look like they're felt, like a very strong felt here. There we go. You can see the other side. Combusken. Imagine getting slashed by these. This would hurt. And then the feet. Again, very detailed feet. We have the lines right here on the ankles. And then we have the claws and talons right there. Here's the other foot that you can see. You can see the lines right here. And then here are the tags. Here's the first one. And then here's the second one. So anyway, now that we've seen Combusken, let's move on to the final evolution, the mighty Blaziken. Alright, so by the time you get Blaziken, you've probably got about 4 or 5 badges, and you're beginning to go for the championship. You're serious about it now. And Blaziken looks like a powerhouse. It wants that title too. It is a fully raised fire rooster, or in 1 out of 8 cases, a fire hen. So, but what is Blaziken based on? This is the dilemma that I was talking about earlier. Is it the adult of the species, or is it something different? So, to answer this question, you have to look at the social structure of the chicken flock. And I've been thinking about this because I went through a phase where I watched way too many chicken coop videos on YouTube. So, chickens will live in a flock, and that flock will have a hierarchy. The strongest chickens will be at the top. They will get to have food first. They decide who gets to have the highest perches, stuff like that. They will peck at each other and fight to assert dominance, and only the strong will lead. I believe that this is why Combusken picks up the fighting type. I also believe that if this exists in the Pokemon world, Combusken may already be the adult form in the Torchic line, and Blaziken is what happens when Combusken becomes the leader of the flock, or at least as strong as it needs to be to assert that kind of dominance. Now, this is different from the Trico line, where we determined that Sceptile was the adult. Every Trico would be destined to become a Sceptile in the wild, but in this case, only a few Combusken may attain the form of Blaziken naturally. And if you're raising one throughout your journey, then I would argue that your wins over the gym leaders are enough for your Combusken to evolve. Let's take a look at the plush. So first, Blaziken passes the standing test. It's more like the sitting test here. Hey, these are sitting cuties, so it's sitting, but it passes the test. It has a medium firmness, just like its other forms in its evolution line. The colors are perfect on this plush. I think the legs are a bit short though. I think that the arms are way long for the size of the plush. I think the arms are way too long, and the legs are way too short. Let's take a look at the details. So we have the head feathers. We have this crown on the top. We have these feathers coming all the way down. I imagine this would be larger for stronger Blaziken, and they would use it for display. So this one would be pretty strong. Look at this. We have lines sewn in. You can see them here. In the back, you see extra feathers back here. There's a lot of detail in the face. We have these embroidered eyes. These lines on the edge here are embroidered. You can see the other side. There's a nose. There's a beak. You can barely see the mouth line right here. Has a thick neck. We have the feathers coming down here to the body. These are again separate pieces. They're not attached. They're not colored or anything like that. You can see this in the back. We have this diamond right here, yellow, embroidered edge. We have feathers coming on the body right here. We have the tail right here. You can see the lines just like with Combusken. And the pellets are all right here in the hips. That way Blaziken can sit. Now the arms, this is one of the most detailed parts. So I like that. I like the lines here. It has these talons right here on the end. And they have lines coming out from each toe also. It's pretty cool, huh? Here's the other side. You can see these details in full. The claws look like they're made of felt. Take a closer look. Now the legs, this is the most detailed part of the plush, and I love this. Despite the size, I love the legs. We have the two colors right here. The border right here is embroidered, and that goes all the way around. We have a claw on the back. Then on the bottom, we have the feathers, the endings right here that are shown, so that you can see the edge. Looks pretty cool. And then we have the claws coming out right here. These are not felt like the other claws, so these are all stuffed. Take a closer look on the side so that you can see it better. Here we go. Here's the other side. And lastly, here's the tags. So here's the tag, first one and the second one. All right. So anyways, so that was the Torchic line. Let's line them up real quick so that we can take one last look at them before we move on to our final starter, the water starter, Mudkip. Alright guys, last but not least, we have our water starter, Mudkip. I have to be honest, I had no idea what kind of animal Mudkip was supposed to be, so I had to research it. Now, its name comes from Mudskipper, but it doesn't really look like one. Mudkip and Mudskippers are both amphibious, so that's something that they have in common. I also saw some people online compare the Mudkip line to the Axolotl, but I think Mudskipper is more appropriate here. After all, Mudkip is the mudfish Pokemon. I figure that Mudkip is designed to be a Mudskipper with more defined legs. Now, regarding Mudkip's journey to evolution. At first, I thought that Mudkip would be more like Trico, with set stages at set points in its life. But after doing some research, I actually think that maybe Mudkip here is the adult, or already in its adult stage. Now, why would I think that? A Mudskipper larva looks more like a tadpole than a fish, and it only gets its fins when it grows up. An Axolotl is born without any limbs at all, and only gets all four at the adult stage. Additionally, Pokédex entries for all three forms show each Pokemon practicing feats of strength throughout its life. This leads me to believe that Mudkip evolves not through aging, but through getting stronger. So this means that your goal as a trainer and its goals as a Pokemon are the same, which I think is awesome. Let's take a look at the plush. So first, Mudkip passes the standing test. The colors and the proportions are perfect. Now, unlike the others, Mudkip is stuffed very soft, so it's a very soft plush compared to the other Sitting Cuties. Now let's take a look at the details. So for the head, we have this fin up here. So the Mudskippers will have the fin on their back. Mudkip has it on its head. And keeps that throughout its evolutions. So here's the fin. It's not stuffed, so it has these lines here. Now for the eyes, we have embroidered eyes here. We have the nose. Then we have the line here for the mouth. We have a light blue chin. Then we have these orange gills right here. This is the part that makes it look a lot more like an axolotl. Looking at the body, we have the light blue belly right here. The pellets are mostly sitting on the back legs right here. They kind of come up to the front of the plush. That's why sometimes it's a little hard to balance. But I figure they put a lot of pellets in here so that the head won't throw off the balance. We have the tail right here. This tail fin is just like the head fin. It's not stuffed, but it has lines sewn in so that you can tell. And then here are the legs. You can see toes sewn in. It's very difficult to see, but you could see them right here. Here's the other side. And then on the back as well, you can barely see it. It's very difficult to see, but you can see them right here. And there we go. And then after that, we just have the tags. So there we go. So now that we've seen Mudkip, it's time to take a look at its evolution, Marshtomp. So, Marshtomp is the middle evolution, and it gains the ground type. It retains the characteristics of both the Mudskipper, and the axolotl. It is amphibious, it has fins, and it has legs. It has also gotten a lot stronger. Now, according to Pokédex entries, in the wild, it gets stronger by wrestling opponents in the mud. Now, this sounds like a lot like Pokemon battles to me. So, as you grow as a trainer in the game and have your Mudkip battle, it is getting this type of experience, the same type of experience it gets from wrestling opponents in the wild. And it needs that in order to evolve into Marshtomp. Now, by the time you would have about 1 to 2 badges, that's a lot of experience, so I would say that it's enough to evolve it into a Marshtomp through strength. Let's take a look at the plush. So first, Marshtomp passes the standing test. The colors and proportions are perfect. And it is also very soft, just like Mudkip. So if you're looking for a soft sitting cutie, this is also a good one to have. Now let's take a look at the details. So first we'll start off with the head. Now the fins are a little different than Mudkip's. They are a dual layer fabric right here. They're not sewn together like the other ones were. We have the lines here so that you can see the details. The eyes are embroidered. We have a nose, and then we have the mouth, just like Mudkip. We have the light blue chin here, and we have the gills. It kept those axolotl gills. Now for the body, we have the pellets down here near the legs, so which is great. It helps it balance. It has an orange belly. It has the embroidered edges right here. And if we turn around, we can see it has 2 tail fins instead of 1. And they're just like the head fin. Here's the other one so that you can see. Now for its arms and legs. Now the arms, they are dual layered here, but they are not stuffed. So when you press them down, it feels really nice because it feels like they're inflated with air. So it's pretty cool. And then we have these you have lines here to show the fingers. Here's the other arm. And then of course here are the legs. The legs are pretty short, even though Marshtomp does get stronger legs. But here's one. Here is the other. And then lastly, we have the tags. So anyways, that was Marshtomp, so let's go ahead and let it evolve, and let's take a look at its final evolution, Swampert. Alright, so by the time you get Swampert, you're on your way to the championship, and you're probably very competitive. That's something that you would have in common with Swampert, because Swampert is competitive. Now, Marshtomp was playing in the mud and wrestling, but not Swampert. Swampert was lifting boulders, towing boats, and swimming faster than a jet ski, according to the Pokédex. And while it retains the qualities of the Mud Skipper and the Axolotl, you'd have to agree that as it evolves, Swampert just looks like it's been buffed up. And it looks like the results of some pretty intense training, and perhaps the result of a journey with you, the player. And I think that's pretty cool because that makes the bond between Pokemon and trainer a lot stronger, which is what these games are about, right? The player and Mudkip need each other to get where they want to go. And at the end of that journey, you're in the Hall of Fame with a Swampert that's just looking buff. Let's take a look at the plush. So, Swampert can pass the standing test, but it has to have a huge asterisk there. The reason why is because if you look at the plush, Swampert's back legs come out to the sides, so a lot of times Swampert will just fall down. What I had to do with mine was I had to kind of fold it here and bring the legs forward and adjust the pellets in the back right here, and then I was able to get Swampert to stand up. So it takes a little bit of effort, but Swampert can pass the standing test. Now, the colors and the proportions are pretty good. Just like its pre-evolutions, it's also a very soft plush, so that's pretty nice. Let's take a look at the details. So starting with the head, the fins on Swampert's head are just like the fins on Mudkip's head. They're sewn together like this, and we have lines that are sewn in. Here's the other side so that you can see, and you see it from above, in the back right here too. Now for the face, we have the embroidered eyes, we have a nose, and then we have a pretty well-defined mouth right here with a white chin. Now, the gills are a little different, so if you look here, it looks like they are felt that is double layered, so you can see the edge right here. Here's how it looks from above. Here's the other side so that you can see them. They don't really come out to the side too well, so you kind of have to bend it if you wanted to. So there you go, that's the head. Now for the body, we have a white belly right here. The pellets are all in the edge right here by the tail. So that's where all the pellets are. That's one reason why I think it gets off balance. We have this long fin that comes all the way down to the bottom. This is double layered right here. It's sewn together, not stuffed. So, and it can bend, it's pretty flexible, it can bend back and forth. And you have lines that are sewn in throughout the whole thing. Now, the arms are pretty detailed. Now, these, unlike Marshtomps, these are stuffed. So they're a little harder than the rest of the plush. We have this patch right here. And then we have the hands, which you can see the fingers. Let's take a look at the other side. You see the same thing here. See the other side of the arm. Then legs, you can see the patches right here, embroidered edge, and then we have toes right here. Here's the other side so that you can see. And then lastly, we have the tags. So there's Swampert's first tag and the second. All right. Well, this was the Mudkip line, so let's go ahead and bring everyone back here. And let's take one last look at the Mudkip line before we bring everyone back together. Alright everyone, this was the Hoenn Starter Special. What did you guys think of all these plushes that we looked at today? Which ones were your favorite? And how did you like looking at all the evolution lines? Let me know all that in the comments below. I really enjoyed these plushes, and I really enjoyed researching those animals and sharing all that with you. I'll put links to Pokemon Center for the plushes in the description, as well as links to Wikipedia pages for the animals, in case you're interested in reading more about them. Hopefully you will enjoy them. Anyway, that's all I have for this week. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, rate, subscribe, and don't stop playing.